こんにちは、ジャパニーズアンモのミサです。Hey guys! Today I'm going to teach you how to use ことにする and ことになる. You should learn these grammar points if you'd like to pass the JLPT N3. 例えば、家を買うことにした。家を買うことにした。This means I decided to buy a house. 本当の話じゃないよ。so, ことにした means I decided. So the verb 買う to buy is in the dictionary form and you put こと which means think, but this こと is used to nominalize the verb, right? So 買うこと means buying. It's like adding ing in English. So 買うことにした。And this ことにすることにした mean I decided. So when the speaker makes a decision, we use this form ことにすることにした. So here, ことにした is in the informal speech, so I would say this to my friends, right? 家を買うことにした. I can also say 家を買うことにしました, right? 買う stays in the dictionary form. To change the formality, we only change the verb at the end. 買うことにしました. I decided to buy a house. And you might be thinking, wait, Misa, isn't the verb to decide 決める? That's right. If you know the verb 決める, amazing, good job. So 決める does also mean to make a decision, to decide.But this ことにする is usually used when you decide to do something. Okay, so you could also say 家を買うことに決めた, but this is not as common as 買うことにした. 決める is mainly used with a noun. So you say noun を決める, like 答えを決める to decide the answer. So,you know, like you're taking a test and you have to, it's like a multiple choice question and you have to decide which one is correct. And then you say 答えを決める. Or to decide a name for your baby, you can also say 名前を決める. So you usually put noun and then を決める. Or to decide on a time, we'd say 時間を決める. So, yeah, you should also remember this verb 決める, but when you want to say I decided to do something, we'd say dictionary form ことにする, ことにした. Okay? And now, what's the difference between ことにする and ことにした? Usually you'd say ことにした or ことにしました. So, する in the past tense. But when you decided to do something that you will be doing on a regular basis, so something that will become your habit, you can also use ことにする. Also, only if the decision is made just now. So basically when you want to say, I just decided to do something. 例えば、もっと運動することにする. もっと運動することにする. I just decided to exercise more. So this sounds like you just made that decision, right? And it's about my future habit. Like I will be exercising more. Here you can also say もっと運動することにした. Okay? But this sounds like I made that decision not right now, but like maybe 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, or an hour ago, or a week ago, you know, it's in the past. If you say ことにした implies that you made that decision a while ago. But this ことにする sounds a little odd if you're talking about something you decided to do once in the future. So like buying a house, it's not like you'll be buying houses.In that case, yeah, I guess you could say 家を買うことにする. But otherwise, we would rather say 家を買うことにした So, if you decided to get married, it would also sound more natural if you say 結婚することにした。結婚することにした。Right? If you say 結婚することにする, it sounds a little bit odd. It's like, I decided I will be getting married several times. Kind of like that. It doesn't imply that exactly, but it's a little unnatural. So, it's safer to stick to ことにした、ことにしました。But you can remember that you can also say ことにする when the decision was made just now. 他の例文、another example. タバコをやめることにした。タバコをやめることにした。I decided to quit smoking. So you will hear this やめることにした a lot because that's the common combination. I decided to quit. Tabako means cigarette, but you can use it like smoking. タバコをやめることにした。Anyway, you can say お酒をやめることにした to mean I decided to quit drinking. Literally it means I decided to quit alcohol. And here, instead of the verb やめる, you can put the negative form, the simple form of the negation. So ない and then ことにした. So for example, タバコを吸わないことにした。タバコを吸わないことにした。So タバコを吸う is to smoke a cigarette.And you negate the verb 吸 into 吸わない。タバコを吸わない and ことにした。I decided. That means I decide not to smoke. It might be better if you add the word like もうタバコを吸わないことにした。I decided not to smoke anymore. More examples.I decided not to go to Japan. You can say 日本に行かないことにした。日本に行く to go to Japan. Negate it. 日本に行かない。日本に行かないことにした。So remember to negate the verb in front of こと. Okay? So you don't negate した at the end, but rather negate the verb in front of こと.To say, I decided not to do something. Okay, so this is from my real life experience. 冷蔵庫にケーキがありました。その時、本当にお腹が空いていました。だから友達にケーキ食べようかなと言いました。5分後、友達は私がケーキを食べていないのを見て、あれ？ケーキ食べないの？と言いました。私はケーキを食べないことにしたと答えました。So I was like, ケーキ食べようかな？ Maybe I will eat the cake.And then I changed my mind and said, 食べないことにした。I decided not to eat it. Okay, now let's learn how to use ことにしてる and ことにしています more formally. 例えば、週に2回ジムに行くことにしてる。週に2回ジムに行くことにしてる。So this basically means the same as 週に2回ジムに行く。I go to the gym twice a week, right? But instead of just 行く, I said 行くことにしている。So when you translate this sentence, you could just translate like I've been going to the gym twice a week. That's it.But literally, this means I've decided to go to the gym twice a week and I've been doing that. So this ことにしている means something like I make it a rule to do something. So this is like my habit and my rule to do something. This is my personal discipline to do something. So nobody is making me. I decided to do it, but this is my personal rule to do something. So when you just say, 週に2回ジムに行く. This is just a fact. I'm just stating what I do. Whilst when I say, 週に2回ジムに行くことにしている, and it implies that I've decided to do it and it's my personal rule, like it's been a part of my schedule to do that. So a lot of people have told me that they try not to talk about politics when they are like invited to a party or, when they talk to strangers. And they can say, 政治について話さないことにしている。政治について話さないことにしている。So I've decided not to talk about politics. So this has been my personal rule. So nobody is forcing me to follow this rule. It's just my personal rule. 他の例文。毎月一冊本を読むことにしている。毎月一冊本を読むことにしている。毎月一冊 Okay, so every month I read a book. Every month I read one book. So again, you can just say 毎月一冊本を読む. Right? Then it's just a fact. I'm stating what I do every month. But if I add this ことにしている, I'm telling you that this is my personal rule. Like this has been something I've decided a while ago and I've been following this rule. 他の例文 Another example. アメリカに住んでるけど玄関で靴を脱ぐことにしている。アメリカに住んでいるけど玄関で靴を脱ぐことにしている。Although I live in the US, I don't, but although I live in the US, I take off my shoes at 玄関. And 玄関, that's the space you have in front of the door in most Japanese houses. So this speaker lives in the US, and I know it's just a stereotype and not everyone does that, but a lot of people don't take off their shoes at the 玄関 or in front of the door, right? And that person, the speaker, decided to still take off their shoes. So what's important here is that it's a personal rule. So it's not like the government is forcing you or it's the culture, so you kind of have to do it, or it's just your personal rule. So for example, when somebody do something because of the customs, like the culture, you don't really use this ことにしている because this is such a personal decision. Okay, so when you want to say 日本人はアメリカ人は like you want to generalize people, or you want to generalize what people do in certain countries, you don't really use this ことにしている. So for example, you want to say Japanese people take off their shoes at the entrance, at the 玄関. Then here you just say 日本人は玄関で靴を脱ぐ. Or 日本人は玄関で靴を脱ぎます. So you just use 脱ぐ, 脱ぎます. Okay, you don't add any extra fancy ことにする. Yeah, so here if you say 日本人は玄関で靴を脱ぐことにしています, that sounds odd. So because it should be something that an individual decided to do. Okay, so if you're a Japanese person living abroad and still decides to take off their shoes at the entrance, then you can say that like 日本人だから海外に住んでいる時も玄関で靴を脱ぐことにしている. It's not very common to take off their shoes in the US, but you still do it. Then you can say アメリカに住んでるけど、玄関で靴を脱ぐことにしている。So, as I said, ことにしている、ことにしています are used to express what your habit is, what you've decided to do, right? Do you guys remember ようにしている、ようにしている。例えば、毎日野菜を食べるようにしている。毎日野菜を食べるようにしている。Again, this sentence could just be translated like, I've been eating vegetables every day. This sentence is quite similar to 毎日野菜を食べることにしている。毎日野菜を食べることにしている。They both express what your habit is. The differences between ことにしている and ようにしているis that ようにしている implies that doing that is a little bit difficult and requires a bit of an effort. So 野菜を食べるようにしている sounds like I don't really like vegetables, but I know it's healthy, so I try. I've been doing that because I think it's necessary. Whilst ことにしている doesn't imply that. It's just that it's your rule. It's your habit. Another example, your personal motto, your personal mantra is not to lie, always be honest, blah, blah, blah. You can say, 嘘をつかないことにしている。嘘をつかないことにしている。So I've decided that I don't want to lie, so this has been my personal rule, right? Not to lie. 嘘をつかない。It's in the negative form. つく、嘘をつく to lie. 嘘をつかない not to lie. And here, if you say 嘘をつかないようにしている。嘘をつかないようにしている。This sounds like I try not to lie. So it's kind of difficult, but I try not to. So, it's a little bit different, right? But this doesn't mean that ようにしている makes you sound like a weak-minded person. Sometimes you're just being realistic. You can't always do something 100%. And you just say ようにしている。例えば、人を傷つけないようにしている。I try not to hurt others. So like emotionally. Obviously not physically, but also emotionally. And here it's kind of, you could say 人を傷つけないことにしている。I've decided not to hurt people and I don't. It's fine, but that's a bit difficult. You gotta admit, like, you can't make everyone happy. You're gonna hurt somebody's feeling somehow, sometime, even if you don't mean to. So in this scenario, it's actually more natural to say 人を傷つけないようにしている。So ようにしている I try to do something. Alright, now let's talk about ことになる. Okay? So ことにする if you use the verb する then the decision is made by the speaker. Also, if you say ことになる then the decision has been made by somebody else or you made that decision with somebody else. For example, do you remember that example sentence? 結婚することにした。結婚することにしました。I decided to get married. Right? So this した、しました imply that the speaker made that decision. So this sentence actually sounds like the speaker was proposed but didn't really give an answer to to the person who proposed. So you know that your partner wants to get married, but you weren't sure. And then you're like, okay, I will get married. Then 結婚することにした. Also, if the decision was mutual and you want to say, we decided to get married, then you'd actually use this なる, なった, 結婚することになった or 結婚することになりました. Okay? So when you make a decision with somebody else, you use this なる, なった. So this logic applies to breaking up as well. To break up, you say 別れる. If you say 別れることにした, then it means I decided to break up with that person, him, her, and it could mean that I haven't told that person that I want to break up, but I made my decision. 別れることにした. Whilst if we decided to break up, so it was a mutual decision, or we already broke up and then we say, we decided to break up. And you say 別れることになった or 別れることになりました. So, when you make a plan with your friends, you also would say ことになった、ことになりました because you'd probably make that plan together, right? Or you would agree, so it's like it's a mutual decision. So it's been decided that my friend and I will meet at 6 tomorrow. This sounds super stiff in English, but in Japanese it doesn't sound that bad. So, 明日6時に友達に会うことになった。明日6時に友達に会うことになった。So we decided to meet at 6 tomorrow. Or another example. 手術することになった。Or 手術することになりました。It's been decided that I will have a surgery. Okay, first of all, this word 手術 is awful to pronounce. Even Japanese people can't say this properly. 手術. 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 This word is often used in a tongue twister. Anyway, 手術をする is to have surgery. It can also be used as to operate surgery. Anyway, 手術をすることになった. Usually the doctor decides that with you, right? So it's not just my decision. Unless I'm the doctor, I can't say, alright, I'm gonna have a surgery and nobody else agrees. Then I can't do that, right? Unless I can just do that on myself. You'd usually have to have that decision with somebody else, either with your family or with your doctor at least. So usually you'd say 手術をすることになった or 手術をすることになりました. The only time you'd really say 手術をすることにした is when you probably mean that your family disagrees or somebody disagrees, but you want to say it was my decision to go through that. So you really want to put an emphasis on the fact that it's my decision, not anybody else's. Now, this ことになった is also used when you have no control over. It's the company rule, it's the law. You didn't decide, but somebody else made that decision and you have to follow that rule. You also would say ことになった. 例えば, it's been decided that we must wear face masks in the office. You'd use ことになった, ことになりました if it wasn't your decision. Okay, so your boss tells you to do it, or your government tells you to do it, and you wear a face mask, then you say ことになった. So in the office, you can say in different ways. オフィス内で is a common one. オフィス内で This 内 is kind of like 中で オフィス内で or you can also say 会社で in the company, in the office, or you can also say 職場で in the workplace. You can use any of them. You will hear all of them, unfortunately. So let's use オフィス内で because it's very common. So オフィス内でマスクをすることになった。オフィス内でマスクをすることになりました。Formally. So remember, even in the formal sentence, you only change the last なる in なりました after must form. So you don't say しますことになりました。することになりました。To wear a mask. マスクをする。マスクをすることになった。But if it's your decision to wear a mask in the office, so nobody else is wearing a mask, so your colleague isn't wearing a mask because nobody is making them, then you can say オフィス内でマスクをすることにした。オフィス内でマスクをすることにしました。I decided to wear a mask in the office. So yeah, whatever your company tells you to do and you don't really have a control over that rule, you'd say ことになった. For example, your company is telling you to go on a business trip. I mean, you can say no, but you probably would get fired, right? Or you won't get that extra cash or whatever. You can say 出張することになった。出張することになりました。It's been decided, they decided that I will go on a business trip. It's not like I'm the CEO and I decided to go on a business trip. It's like my boss's decision and I am going on a business trip. 出張することになった。So when you want to tell your husband or wife that you're going on a business trip, you probably would say 出張することになった or 出張することになりました。If you say 出張することにした, it sounds like you made that decision like on your own. Or you could say that if they already knew you were considering it and it was really up to you to decide, then you could say 出張することにした. So they decided to make me go on a business trip in the first place, but then I consulted my partner and I was like, should I? And then they were like, no, it's your decision. And I'm like, okay, I decided to go on a business trip. Then you can say 出張することにした. But yeah, you'd usually just say 出張することになった。他の例文。駐在員として日本に住むことになった。駐在員として日本に住むことになった。It's been decided that I or we will live in Japan as an expat or expats. So again, that's usually the decision that the company makes, right? And it doesn't have to be a company's rule or company's decision. It can also be following the law or the rule. For example, in Japan, you really have to separate rubbish very strictly. Like there will be people, like your neighbors will be like, oh, you're not separating those? like people will judge you for not separating rubbish. It's really tough. It's not easy, but it's for the environment. So anyway, you can say リサイクルのためにゴミは分別することになっている。リサイクルのためにゴミは 分別することになっています。We must sort and separate rubbish, trash, for recycling. Or you're not allowed to smoke on the plane, right? So you can say, 機内でタバコを吸ってはいけないことになっている。機内でタバコを吸ってはいけないことになっている。機内 is how we usually say on the plane, inside the plane. So plane, we say 飛行機. But when we say in the plane, on the plane, you usually say 機内. So next time when you fly, listen carefully because in Japanese they will most likely use the word 機内. Anyway, here I said 吸ってはいけない plus ことになっている. Right? Remember this てはいけない is the same as ちゃダメ. Like you are not allowed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. So you would often hear this てはいけないことになっている. It's been decided that you're not supposed to do something. Alright, that's it. So the main difference between ことにする and ことになる is ことにする is used when the speaker makes the decision. As ことになる, either the speaker makes the decision with somebody else or just other people like the government or your boss, your company makes that rule and you have to follow it. And you'd say ことにした, ことにしました if you decided to do something, and you say ことにしている, ことにしています if you decided to do something and you've been doing it as a habit. Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up and share it with your friends and spread the words. I would really like to hit 500,000 subscribers, so yeah, let's make it happen. Alright, じゃあまたね。バイバイ。